And then what are you expecting to see from him, and what does he have to do to prove that he's going to be able to play Sunday night for you?
I mean, he's healthy, so we just want to see him out there and get back in the swing of playing football. It's been a while since he has. I know he's been working hard on his own with football and everything, and with our trainers and um, um, and everyone else with the rehab. But yeah, we just need to see him go through 3 days and what type of shape he's in, and if he can protect himself, he'll be out there.
Hey, Kyle, I probably have a very rambling question here, but I mean, when you look at what's happening with the Titans the Titans and that game being postponed for a day or two, the memo that went out from Troy Vincent threatening suspensions and the loss of draft picks if coaches don't wear their face covering. There was a report that you and all the other coaches had appealed your fines from the first week. So I was just kind of wondering about what your thought is on that, with the NFL kind of raising the stakes now and making it even more, the punishment even greater. And as well as how did you do you think, on Sunday with those protocols and the face coverings?
How many questions were in that?
There's about 7 or 8.
Oh, no, I mean, I think it's all, I think we understand it all. I think it has to deal with the whole world. I mean, when we're trying to pull off a season, and it's just a reminder how quick that can spread and when people get it. And it happened to the Titans this week, and you see what happens. And once that happens, you do got to shut things down, and that is a huge deal. And if we let that get out of hand, that would be very tough for our league finishing this season. So completely understand all the measures they're taking. Yeah, last week was the first time that did it every single play, kept it on throughout the whole game. It's not the most fun thing, as everyone realizes, but it's definitely worth it and something we need to do. I feel a lot safer in the games and a lot safer in this building. With us getting tested every day and everyone else in here, we got to make sure that we are extremely smart outside of here, who we put ourselves around, with situations we put ourselves in, and because you're going to get tested the next day you come back in the building, but you can't be walking around here for 24 hours with us not knowing, and that's why it's also important what we do in here. But I mean, it all makes sense to everybody, and I think everyone completely understands that, and I think we're pretty clear on that now, and no issues at all with it.
Similar to Cam's question, what does Jimmy Garoppolo need to do this week in order to be on the field on Sunday? 2 days of practice, 1 day of practice?
No, he's just got to be able to be healthy in terms of he can run around and protect himself, make the throws. Anytime you're dealing with an ankle, you might feel all right when you're standing there, but can you move around and get into awkward positions without hurting yourself? And that's really what we'd have to see. It would be tough for us to see that and truly judge that if he didn't get into practice. So hopefully he can get out there for at least one live period, and we have those all the way up till Friday. So we just got to see that he's healthy. But that won't be able to happen if we can't get him in practice.
Kyle, is Kittle still limited, or will you be ramping him up this week as we move forward?
No, he's full go today. We'll always be smart with him. We're not just going to throw him in with his normal reps and everything, but he's full go. He'll be involved in it all, and I'm excited to see him out there going.
Hey, Kyle, this is someone out there on social media, but I'll own the question. It is mine. Does a scenario exist, whether Jimmy's out for 1 or 2 more games in which Nick Mullins is so impressive that he could win the starting job?
No, that scenario doesn't exist, but I don't think past 1 game either. So that's for you to do. But this is Jimmy's team. He's done a hell of a job for us, and when he's healthy, he'll be playing again for us.
Kyle, just knowing what Carson Wentz has done in the past in comparison to how he's looked this season, how do you sort of approach preparing for him? And if you were coaching a quarterback who had high highs in the past and was struggling this year, what would your coaching points be?
We're coaching like we're playing against Carson Wentz, who is one of the better quarterbacks in this league. He was the best player in the league the year they won the Super Bowl. And I think he's done a lot of good things since. I know his numbers aren't great this year, and I know a lot of people are saying things about him, but when I watch the film, I see Carson Wentz. He's a guy who can make a lot of plays. He's very hard to take down. He's got a strong arm. He competes as much as anyone in this league. I got a ton of respect for him, and anytime you get picks and stuff, which aren't always on the quarterback, but when numbers are like that, that just goes with the territory. But I would tell someone like that it would be somewhat easy to deal with because, perception doesn't have to be your reality. He's a hell of a quarterback, and I know how this league feels about him.
Hi, Kyle. Last year, given the struggles down the stretch against guys like Grady Jarrett and Chris Jones, do you feel that your interior offensive line is improved and ready for the challenge against a guy like Fletcher Cox?
Yeah, I think we're ready for the challenge. Without a doubt, I think we're ready for any challenge. But I don't care who's going against Fletcher Cox. If you become one-dimensional and he can just tee off and he's getting a lot of one-on-ones and things, it really doesn't matter. He's that good of a player, and he's got a bunch of real good guys around him, and has a scheme that completely fits the skill set. So it's a challenge for our entire team, not just our offensive line. We got to be in a situation where we can be balanced and make them play everything, not just the past, and that is a challenge for everyone who's dressed.
Cal, do you still anticipate that Jordan Reed and D Ford maybe have to placed on IR later this week? And then what was your impression of Deion Jordan and Ziggy Ansah?
Yeah, I do expect them to go on IR later this week. And then Jordan and Ziggy, I was very happy with. They both came in there. Jordan's been with us throughout training camp. Got picked up, got taken to the main roster off the practice squad, and he's just been waiting for his opportunity. He knew it'd come eventually. It came in the third week, and he got on the stat sheet with a sack. He had a fumble recovery, played very hard and did his job. And Ziggy had been here a limited time, but he came in, pushed the pocket well, got some pressure on the quarterback, and we're real excited to have both of them here going forward.
Kyle, was waiving Kyle Nelson a difficult decision for you, or was it something you felt was inevitable?
We felt it was a little inevitable after the game and everything. It was always difficult because of what Kyle's meant to the organization, how good of a guy Kyle is, how good of a player that he's been. And it doesn't mean he can't be going forward. But it's always hard from the personal relationship that we've had with him. And he knew the deal, and it was just a tough game for him. And usually something like that, you do have to move on, give someone else an opportunity. But Kyle handled it great, and I wish him the best. And I don't think this league will see the last of him, though.
Regarding Kyle, were there inconsistencies that we weren't seeing, that a layman doesn't see in practice, or was it just one bad game and you just can't have that type of game in the NFL?
I think that there's only 32 of them, and then there's a number of guys trying to get in. It's very similar to the kicker position, and people can get hot and cold. And Kyle hasn't been playing as good as he has in the past. It was kind of trending a little bit that way, and you want to do it. If you see things trending that way just a little bit, you try to make a decision before it hurts you. And I think you guys saw what happened on Sunday. So fortunately, we were able to win the game. And you just got to make sure that doesn't happen again. It doesn't mean that he won't get out of it. I actually believe he will, but it's something that you just can't risk. You got to decide. We've been sticking with it, and I think that was the writing on the wall of that game, that we just had to make a tough decision and move on for now.
Kyle, we're used to watching a Shanahan-led rushing offense have success, and that really hasn't happened this year outside of a few explosive runs. Seems like the offensive line is struggling to open holes. What would you attribute that to? And are you concerned about the struggles of the running game?
No, but we definitely need to do better. I thought we had a chance to run for a lot of yards versus the Jets, and I thought we missed a couple, got a couple called back, and then we had way too many negatives. Last week versus the Giants, I thought they did some fronts that caught us off a little bit, some stuff just from coaching-wise. We didn't put the guys through. Sometimes they had about 6 bigs on the line of scrimmage, and they had a pretty good defensive line front. I know we could have done better, which I challenged the line with. I challenged everybody with. But I also think it was extremely important that we threw the ball well, too, because it's hard you want to attack the weaknesses of defense. And when people put their strength in the stop and the run, you better make them pay in the pass. And fortunately, we were able to do that versus the Giants. We should have ran it better versus the Jets, but I thought that's what we needed to do in the Giants game.
Got one more question?
Kyle, I know they're a few weeks away from having their windows able to open, but the 3 guys on PUP, how are they coming along from what you know?
Which guys again?
The 3 guys on PUP, Taylor, Richburg, and Blair.
I think from what I hear, they're coming along great. I mean, it's not going to be here in the next week or so, but I know we're a few weeks away on it, but their progress is how it was at the beginning. They've had no setbacks, so hopefully halfway through the season, they'll be ready to help us.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, Mike, just wondered about Nick Mullins. I don't know as far as your memory of 2018, but what am I trying to say? When you saw his performance Sunday, how had he improved? Are there specific things you saw, like how he's come a long way in the past year or so?
Well, I think his confidence was definitely up there. I think this time around he knew he's had some accomplishments in this game as a starter. He's had success as a starter for our football team, and I think it was just getting back to what he does. And Nick's is as good of a pro as we have in this building. He's always on his preparation. The way that his mind works and the way that he's able to think through the demands of our offense is as good as anybody, and he's done a great job for us, and this past Sunday was just another example of that, and he was so much more confident in 2018 than the first time he went in there. He was commanding the troops, commanding the huddle, and ripping the ball where he needed to rip it, and it was awesome to watch, and we're so fortunate to have Nick, being able to step in for us and not miss a beat.
Mike, what's George Kittle been like behind the scenes the last couple of weeks, just not being able to play? And are there any anecdotes of him being annoying or anything like that you could share with us?
Being annoying?
Wanting to get out there.
No, George is the best. He's one of the leaders of this team, and he's always involved, no matter if he's on the field or not. You can always hear him, that's for sure. He's definitely always vocal, always in your face, and but that's who he is, and that's why he's the best, man. And he never once checks out of anything. He always was helping the guy, whether it was Ross, whether it was Jordan, whether it's Charlie Werner or whoever it is. He's there to help those guys get along and pick up the slack that they have to, because when he's out of the game, we're missing a huge part of our offense, and those guys, stepped up in a huge way. So I wouldn't say it was annoying, but you definitely feel George at all times.
Hey, Mike, at the end of the third quarter, Ayuk's jet sweep, there was a pretty elaborate blocking procedure that had you guys all out on the right side. How does it feel for you guys when one of those plays actually kind of gets executed really to perfection?
It feels great. It always feels great when you execute plays to perfection. We've had success on a lot of those plays, whether it was we started doing it more and more with the the guys that we've brought in to this building that can kind of do anything with the football in their hands. Brandon's another example. Debo obviously is superb at it. Juice, whether it's Juice blocking or catching the football, or when we hand it off to George. So we're able to do that in so many different ways and get the ball into somebody's hands. And it looks like a lot of misdirection and trick plays, but everybody's assigned to a guy when you get out there, and we use the way we run our offense to be able to run plays like that and catch guys off guard and eliminate half the field. And then Ben obviously shoots out like a rocket, like he always does in open space. And then there's nobody better in playing off blocks and playing off schemes than Kyle Juszczyk. So it was a really, really cool play. Really pumped that worked and got Brandon his first touchdown.
Mike, has there been any discussion there about what's happened with the Tennessee Titans and the issues that now is something that is being talked about, whereas for more than a month there, COVID tests and everything else, it seemed to really come to a standstill in the NFL?
We actually haven't talked too much about it, but if anything that's been said, it's just remember to make sure that you're on all the little details of our protocols and make sure you have your mask on when you need to have your mask on. Make sure you have your hands washed. Make sure you get your tests on time and all that and make sure you have your little Kinexon tracker and all that kind of stuff. If anything, it's more important now than ever because of a small outbreak in the league that it only takes one to turn into many. And so hopefully we can get that under control across the league and we'll resume the success that we've had, over the first month or two of this season.
Hey, Mike, I want to follow up on something you mentioned after the game the other day. You were asked about so much confidence in the backups, and you said it all starts with the head coach. Can you give us some specifics and details on how Kyle is and handles things like the kind of situation when you have injury crisis like you guys have had over the last couple of weeks, and what it is that he's doing to constantly make sure those guys are up on top of their game?
Well, one, just him as an evaluator is, I think, on a different level than everybody else in the NFL. When you see how deep our roster is from top to bottom and just being able to plug guys in, I don't know of many defenses that lose the players that we have lost already this year that are still able to hold two NFL teams to less than 15 points in 2 weeks. So that's impressive. And just the way that he's able to prepare and build the confidence in every single person in our building. Because when he is that confident and when he believes in you and when he he has a way of making the rest of the team believe in the guys that are stepping into these huge roles, and it's impressive and it's cool to watch, and it gives you that feeling of security that no matter what happens, we got the right guy steering the ship, and if he trusts everybody enough in this building to get the job done, then we're going to get the job done, and that's all there is to it. It's really, really cool to be able to have that kind of a feeling with the things that have been happening so far for us this year, and hopefully going to bounce back on the healthier side over these next couple weeks, and so we won't have to deal with it too much more. But it certainly is impressive for us to have the guys that we have to step into the roles that they did, and it all starts with the confidence that he builds in not only the individual but through the individual to the rest of the team.
You mentioned Ben and his speed a little earlier. He was telling us recently that Trent gets up to 19 miles per hour sometimes in practices and workouts and stuff like that. Is that something that you guys as offensive linemen pay attention to? Is that a point of pride for your group? And where does Mike McGlinchey fall in the mile per hour race?
I don't know where I fall in the mile per hour race. I know I'm a few steps behind Trent, that's for sure. But no, I don't know. There's a certain mold and there's a certain I guess fit that we have here and what we do and how it's supposed to look and how each guy's supposed to be able to operate and their not just their body and the way that you look in your body and the way that you are able to move through our offense, because there's a lot of it's a very hard thing to do and very hard thing to get comfortable with is some of the blocks that they ask individuals to make in our offense, because the stretching of the outside zone, the one-on-one matchups on the edge, those things can be daunting, and it takes a long time to be able to do those things. But when you have a blueprint for what it's supposed to look like, and it was Joe. Obviously, it was the start of Joe, and then inside it's Lakin, it's Ben, it's Weston, it's Dan, it's all these guys that kind of fit a certain mold of what Kyle believes is essential to offensive line play, and that's why there's not too many. There's guys that are not too far off. We're all right around each other, and that's pretty cool. Obviously, Trent is a one-of-one type of talent and athlete, and so he's going to have a couple steps on us in those workouts and dead sprints. But we're all pretty solid in space, and we can all get moving pretty good.
Two more guys.
Mike, the Eagles have had two basically staples of their defensive line, Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, for basically the past decade. What do you learn from them on film, and especially after a game where they sort of ran riot against the Bengals?
Yeah, I've seen it for, like you said, a decade. I grew up outside of Philadelphia. They were guys that everybody looked up to. They were guys that everybody was a fan of, and they earned that. Fletcher and Brandon are two of the best in the game at what they do, and they've had a lot of success on a very successful football team. And they've shown, they do a lot of things very similar to the way that our defense does things in the terms of how hard they penetrate, how hard they play, the scheme that they run, and things like that. And this front that we're going to face this Sunday is as solid as it gets in the NFL, and we're going to have our work cut out for us. But we believe that we're very, very great as well, and we're going to do our best to match their abilities on Sunday. And we have all the respect in the world for those guys for what they've put on film. Not just these last couple weeks, but obviously the last few years. And it's going to be a good challenge, but we're definitely going to be ready for it.
Hey, Mike, speaking of what they put on film, I know this was the year before you came, but the last time that this 49ers team played the Eagles, it got ugly down there. And I mean, it's a game where I think Garrett Selleck was seconds away from coming in to play your position at right tackle. I'm wondering, is there any use to that film? Do you guys go back to watch the last time you played the Eagles to see how you do match up against guys like Fletcher and Brandon Graham, or was it just too decimated at that point?
Yeah, we haven't really done much of watching the 17 game. I'm pretty sure Joe even broke it. What did he break his orbital bone in the first quarter of that game? So I don't know. I think Lakin might have been in the game, but other than him, there was nobody that's on our team anymore in the game. So it's a little different. So we haven't really done much. And in over 3 years of football, defenses and players change. So you try and stay as current as possible. That's a completely different 49ers team than the one that's here now. And so, we're going to focus on what's going on forward and the things over the last year and these last 4 weeks or so. That's what we're going to take from. And those guys, they've obviously had some turnover on their roster as well. Obviously, there's a couple key guys that are still there, but there's a lot of players that weren't there either. So we'll study based off of what they have done last year and the first few weeks this year, and go off of that.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
Go ahead for Jimmy.
Jimmy, I know he plays on the other side of the ball, but you've gone against Deebo Samuel in practice, and he seems to have sort of a different mentality from a lot of receivers in terms of, wanting to run through DBs and things like that. Do you notice that? And how difficult can it be to go against a receiver with that type of mentality?
Just very difficult because, after the catch, he can also run, and he's a hard tackle too. So just his style of play is just phenomenal. Debo is just outstanding talent.
Hey, Jimmy, Mike McGlinchey was just saying that when you guys are going through some of the injury stuff and things that you've had over the last couple of weeks, that Kyle Shanahan is the guy who kind of keeps you all grounded and focused. I'm curious how you've seen him maybe develop that skill over the past few years as a head coach.
Really, I feel like he's been the same since he walked in the door. Never changed to me. You just always talk about the next man up mentality. So that's one thing he emphasized when we had a few guys that went down at the beginning of the season.
Hey, Jimmy, obviously I could have Nick Bosa for the rest of the season, and D Ford, Kyle said, is about to go on IR. Obviously, the pretty big deal as far as the pass rush last year. Do you feel like you guys might face a little more pressure in the secondary without those guys, at least for the foreseeable future?
I'm trying to see when we don't face pressure. I'm just saying, it's in the media, you kind of talk trash about us last year, if you remember. And then this year, we still don't talk about the DBs. So I just feel like every game is pressure because at the end of the day, when you watch the film, a lot of guys don't just sit there and watch the D line until they make a play. You watch the DBs, you watch the quarterback, you watch the wide receivers, you watch the running backs. So I just feel like we're always in open space, so DBs are going to be the most talked about and always going to have the most pressure on them.
Jimmy, you had a lot of compliments there about Debo. What have you seen from Ayuk? Do you see kind of the same thing from him, that toughness after catch?
Oh yeah, very physical. He actually hit me one time in camp. I picked up the fumble. It was a good lick too. I like it. I like that about him. Doesn't talk much. Has very long arms. I don't know if y'all paid attention to that, but arms just can. I feel like he can scratch his ankle. But just a very humble young kid. Very talented too as well.
Hi, Jimmy. Two-part question. One, Jason Verrett, what's it like playing next to him? It seemed that he was at a high level. And two, how much do you remember from, I think he got hurt that game in 2017 at Philly? It seemed to be a miserable game for the whole team, but you guys have come a long way. Have you had a chance to reflect on the last time you played the Eagles and how much progress this organization has made since then?
Playing next to Jason, man, it was last game. I told him before the game, I was like, man, just trust it, just trust the process, and I feel like he went out there and he trusted. Very smart player, instincts, just amazing. Aggressive. I love playing next to him. So is the other quarterbacks, whoever's in, cornerbacks, whoever's in. I feel like they're gonna step up and do their job. And just piggybacking of the last time we played Philadelphia. Yes, I feel like we made a huge jump. I feel like we was in that game last year, and they just end up, taking over towards the back end of that game. But I just feel like I'm happy that we get to play him again because now we get another opportunity.
Hey, Jimmy, the Eagles use 12 personnel, I think, more than any other team in the league, something like 59% of the time. What's your impression watching that on film, and how do you try and prepare knowing that, Dallas Goedert is out and they're going to have to look elsewhere for that second tight end?
Say that again. Sorry about that. I kind of got lost at the beginning. Sorry.
No worries. No worries. I said the Eagles, I think they use 12 personnel, two tight ends, 60% of the time. How do you prepare for them, and especially with Dallas Goedert being out, preparing for a tight end you might not have a lot of film on?
Good luck for us, I would say. I know Erk's their guy, and so whoever is the other tight end that's probably gonna step up. I don't know. I won't have too much film on him, so I feel like he will have the upper hand. He just gotta come ready to play because I feel like I'm gonna come ready to play, and so is the rest of my team. Other than that, I feel like they're gonna go 11 personnel some too. They have some great wide receivers over there. I don't know how healthy some. I know a few guys are down, so I don't really know the status. I know one of the wide receivers is supposed to be out, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not sure. So who's ever gonna play? I'm pretty sure we're gonna be prepared to play against them.
Hey, Jimmy, quite a few years ago now, you're in the same draft class with Dante Johnson. Obviously, he's had, last 3 years, had quite a journey, spent some time with a lot of teams. Have you had a sense of kind of that journey and maybe because of that, how sweet it was to have, the performance he did Sunday against the Giants?
You talking about Dante? Oh, okay. I thought you said John Johnson. Okay, Dante Johnson. Now it was outstanding. I'm always rooting for him. We came in together. That's my guy, my friend. It didn't surprise me. I don't know if it surprised anybody else because Dante, he's been in this system for a while too. So that's when he went to the Seahawks too. It was cover 3. So I feel like he should play like that. He's a starter too.
Last one.
Jimmy, what do you see when you watch Carson Wentz? Kyle was just telling us that the NFL thinks very highly of him, and despite all the turnovers that he's had this year. So, what's your scouting report, and how do you think Wentz will hurt you guys?
He can pass. He can use his feet. Yeah, he looks off the safeties. He trusts his wide receivers. I don't know. It's a lot of stuff. I'm trying to think of something that this quarterback can't do. He's just great. I just feel like it's just been some rough games for him. I don't really have the answer for you why they're doing so bad right now, but I feel like it's just 1 or 2 plays away from easily being 3-0.
All right. Thanks, Jimmy. We're done.
All right, thank you.
Done, man. Appreciate it. Hey, hang tight. We got Fred walking up. Ready for Fred?
Fred, I realize it's been a while since Debo Samuel has practiced with you guys, but when you've gone against him in the past, and I guess last year's training camp, how much do you notice him on the field just from a standpoint of his mentality and maybe a unique physicality that he has for a receiver?
Yeah, very unique. I feel like he's just a running back at receiver. His mindset is very different. The fact that he was able to do the things he was doing last year as a rookie, those are the type of dudes that Kyle's looking for to play receiver. That's kind of like the mindset in that room is every time you touch the ball, you're trying to go to the house. And so, like you said, he's a very physical runner and blocker. Be good to have whenever he comes back. It'd be good to have him.
Fred, this week you guys are going up against Zach Ertz, one of the top tight ends in the league. Do you get more prideful in your coverage ability against a guy like him, or just maybe making a hard hitting tackle against somebody?
I guess anytime you're going up against a talented player, tight end, running back, whoever it is, you want to make sure you're on top of your stuff. So, you're winning your one-on-one battles. And like you said, Ertz is an outstanding player in this league, and he has been for a long time. The things that he's able to do, all in the route tree and running his routes, catching the football, and what he does with it in his hands after the fact is impressive. So we're gonna have to make sure we know where he's at all times and are on top of our stuff.
I know this wasn't a linebacker issue per se on Sunday, but Daniel Jones had some long runs. Were you guys, had you game planned for design quarterback runs like that? And given all the running quarterbacks that are on your schedule, is that something that this defense needs to be mindful of?
It wasn't something that we thought they were going to do a whole lot of heading into that game. We knew Daniel was, he was capable. He was very good with his legs. And so it was something that kind of threw in there. And we had to try and make an adjustment to try and stop it. And so, yeah, it is obviously something that's on tape now, and teams are going to be looking at. So we have to make sure we put it to bed. If we do get that again this week, got to make sure we're on top of our assignments.
Hey, Fred, can you, what is from your perspective, I'm sure you've gone up against him in practice last couple of years, but as far as Ross Dwelly, undrafted guy from a small school, and is obviously probably exceeded a lot of people's expectations. From your perspective, what's his career arc look like?
The sky's the limit for Dwelly, man. I mean, he's come in ever since day one when we both came in together. I didn't really know anything about him, and he came in, put his head down, went to work, and ever since he's become one of the best players on our football team. And I can say that with confidence, just because he does so much for us. On special teams, on offense. He's been hanging around George long enough where now when he catches the rock, he's trying to go score with it, and he's one of our best blocking tight ends. He does it all. And so I can't say enough good things about Dwelly and his mindset, the way he approaches his job day in and day out. It's something that we all look up to.
Time for one more for Fred.
Hey, Fred, I know it's only been one game with Jason Verrett out there, but how is his energy on the field after being off of it for so long? And what did you see from him once you watched film?
His energy is great, just to see him get fired up when he's making those plays out there. You love to see that out of your corners. JV, he's had such a long journey of, overcoming adversity, and to be in the spot that he's in now and be out there and making plays again. I'm so happy for him. And, he's only going to continue to get better with reps and continuing to get back in his groove. But, he flashed on Sunday, and he's only, like I said, he's only going to get better and more confident. But we all know what he's capable of.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks.